So, another book that I wanted to recommend you all get for your bookshelf in this kind of movement world is by Forencich, and it's called Exuberant Animal: The Power of Health, Play, and Joyful Movement. I was fortunate to actually do an Exuberant Animal seminar with Frank. Gosh, I don't even know when, 2014, I would say, somewhere around there. And one of probably my favorite kind of 3-day workshop seminars I've done. He lives in, or at the time had lived in Leavenworth, which is in Washington. And it was a great blend of meditation, movement, being in community, eating good food, and then learning. And being able to do these all in a very nice rhythm where each one built off the next. So, for example, we would wake up, have a group meditation practice, then we would eat, hang out, eat breakfast, go out, have a movement session, right? And then after we've got all of that stillness, got all that movement, got all that connection, now we can sit down and learn, and we were all very open and excited to do that. So, and we would just repeat that cycle all throughout the day over 3 days. So, very great. That will all make a lot more sense when you read his book. He's written many books. Read any that catches your mind, but I think this is a good starting one. A few kind of concepts from this book that I really like that he'll kind of talk about is, for one, maybe this idea of the title, looking at us as animals, and starting to see this environmental mismatch from our physiology and how we evolved with our current modern environment. And what do we do about that? What is the kind of practice that can support the animal part of us as well? So I like to joke a lot that we're half ape, half alien. Don't know, but what I like to think of is, in that sense, part of me is an animal and part of me is still a part of the environment. What are good practices in this modern day? This is a good book to get you thinking in that direction. One of the cool little concepts that I like is he draws this connection between two of our closest relatives, right? We have the chimpanzees and the bonobos, and starting to look at how our sports and our kind of physical culture mimics currently more of the chimp take on life, right? It's more of a alpha dominant sport, right? We have professional sports. Those who aren't professional, right, you got to go get another job. It's not a continuation of the game. People didn't play high school football and then pro football, right? And the people who didn't play pro football continue to play football, right? They're just done. So this kind of mimics more of this chimp creating these really amazing athletes, right? But not necessarily bringing up the whole community with them. Versus the bonobo, you could think of the bonobo as they're never going to actually have this peak alpha athlete, but because the whole group does so good at playing together and working together, the whole group rises up together. So I think of this more like modern day jiu-jitsu facilities, right? Martial arts facilities, where it's a lot of people from all ages who are coming in to practice, who are there to improve, and there's competitive athletes there amongst them. But as a whole, the general in most of these places, right, is bringing up the group. There's obviously going to be more competitive gyms where they have more of that chimp base, and that's totally fine too. But this is a cool little frame of reference to start thinking of that, because I think modern fitness and modern sports maybe turn some people off because they got burned at some point. So this is a cool book to start talking about practicing and being in community so that you can move for your whole life. And people that do things competitively, people that are professional athletes, when your sport's done, what do you do the rest of your life, right? If you have kids, can you still play with your kids? Do you have a practice, right? Or did that part end when your specialization ended? So just a little bit he had in there. Another concept that I like is like starting to think about forest athletes versus desert athletes, right? And he'll kind of describe the environments and starting to think of I like to differentiate this more as like, rather than endurance and dynamic, it's more cyclical and acyclical, right? Endurance, cyclical things, obviously, right? Running, biking, etc., where you're doing the same motion repetitively, right? Versus acyclical, you could think of running, but in parkour now, where I'm moving through a dynamic, changing environment and not necessarily at the same rhythm. And other examples of that, gymnastics, obviously, sports, baseball, etc. So, forest, more the Jackie Chan, desert, more the Lance Armstrong, and how people tend to gravitate towards one of these different environments, so to speak. So starting to see your practice as a blend of different things and how those different things would have helped you move through these different environments, right? Why do endurance athletes like that? Well, that was the way to move through the desert, for example, right? I got to go for a long ways without stopping because there's nothing between me and the resources, versus a forest athlete, right, or a jungle athlete needs to get their resources at varying heights, degrees, levels, right, and there's tons of different obstacles, etc., in their way. So these different practices help you navigate different environments. Another thing, obviously, Frank, is where I learned about ape bars versus monkey bars. So I always make my students take the monkey test. If you have not taken the monkey test, you can take the monkey test here with me. You're going to reach over and try and touch your opposite ear. Okay? And then you're going to do it with the other arm. Okay? If you were able to do that, if you were able to touch both your ears, you failed. You're not a monkey. I'm sorry, right? The idea is the scapula in a monkey is in the front of the rib cage like a dog. So they're quadrumanous. They're more like a squirrel. And what makes them good at climbing, right, is they have 4 limbs. They're light and they have a tail. Brachiation, the ability to swing, actually belongs to apes. That was our little evolutionary split off, right, where that scapula changed and we were able to explore further out onto different branches, etc. So, ape bars is the proper name for what monkey bars are, because a monkey cannot brachiate, a monkey cannot swing like that. So, fun fact. But I picked that up in this book. So, these are just a few examples. I am not nearly as colorful and articulate as a speaker as he is as a writer. So, I'll just read the back of this in parting. Move to live, live to move. Health and fitness is a bushy, multidisciplinary practice that includes body, mind, spirit, and the creative imagination. Exuberant Animal explores the totality of human health and promotes a truly integrated approach that spans culture, biology, psychology, and animal behavior. You'll discover powerful new ideas for movement and living that will stimulate your vitality, creativity, and enthusiasm. So, yes. Very brief overview from me. Check this book out if you have not already. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.